will fit your business. So our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities. We do this through mentoring and education. We hope that every person has the support they need to be successful as a small business owner. We do know that small businesses drive our economy, and particularly in Cleveland over the last several years, we've seen a real uptick in the activity downtown because of small businesses moving into that area. So we're very pleased, and we hope that what we're doing is helping you to be successful. We have all sorts of individuals coming to us, and we work with about 10% of our individuals are veterans, and over 50% are women, which makes us very happy. We do have a code of ethics. Everybody who mentors signs a code of ethics on an annual basis, so that we don't take advantage of our clients, and that everything is confidential, so you can feel when you come to SCORE that your ideas will be protected. This is a shot of our website. If you go there, you can find a local mentor. You can take a local workshop. There are also close to 100 recorded webinars that you can watch at your leisure. And there are a lot of other resources, such as templates for a business plan or a marketing plan, all sorts of articles. So I hope that when you have a few minutes, you'll take a look at the website and find something that will help you with your business. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and bring up our presentation for today, I hope. Give me a minute here. Okay. Now let's see if I got it in the right place. There we go. Okay. Laura, do you see that okay?
I do.
Okay. So I'm going to turn this over to Laura Gibbons, and she will get started on marketing in a digital world.
Great. Thank you so much, Nita. Appreciate it. So as she mentioned, my name is Laura Gibbons. I am a senior business consultant over at Chase Bank. So I do a lot of speaking events like this around topics like marketing or how to access capital, navigating your cash flow, and really a host of other things. So, and then also on top of that, what I do day to day is a kind of one-on-one consulting with business clients, whether they're Chase clients or not Chase clients. So we really try to help meet a client where they're at, and if they're looking to scale, what we can do from a financial lens to try to help get you there, whether it's understanding how to use software or, you know, a host of different things around accessing capital through even us or other alternative lenders and things like that too. So my information will be at the end of this, but really today, let's focus in on this amazing workbook, Marketing in a Digital World. So what you're going to see on the screen is going to obviously be a little bit smaller, especially some of you are on your phones. However, we will share a workbook with you that is going to have all of this information in it. And there's even some activities that you can do on your own time to kind of think through your strategies a little bit differently as well. So if you want to roll to the next slide, we'll get started. So e-commerce sales are projected to rise to 20% by 2024. Really quick too, before I forget, sorry. There are some things in here where we'll chat,
Hold
but we're
on a
not.
minute. For some reason, it doesn't seem to want to move. Oh, there we go.
Okay. There's a chat feature. We're not going to do that today. I'm just going to probably ask you some things to just think through, and won't really kind of conversate about it, but there will be a Q&A at the end. So if you want to put a question into the chat, we will address those at the end. Okay. All right. So like I said, next slide, please. 20% by 2024. So this year we're there, right? That's an increase of about 30% in just 3 years. So this is a time of transformation, right? How we shop and who people want to do business with is changing. Apps and websites are helping customers and business owners find each other, right? You can go to the next slide. And in today's session, we'll help you expand your digital marketing skills so that you can take fuller advantage of today's opportunities. All right, so I always start out, of course, right? Poll question first, but we're not really going to talk about it, but I just want you to think about it, okay? Have you increased your online business since March of 2020? So obviously that date probably sticks in your head as right when COVID kind of happened, right? So what did you have to do to flex? Did you have to, move into an online platform? Did you have to sell things a little bit differently? A lot of people really kind of shifted the way that they thought about their e-commerce side of the business because of everything that happened. So the point of it is stay flexible, what's working, what things did you kind of have to shift? And if you haven't, maybe today you'll learn a few things that might help you kind of get into that space. All right, next slide, please. So some of the things that we're going to cover today is a brief discussion of branding and marketing strategies. Where are your customers? So knowledge and insights on the top 3 marketing channels for most businesses, which still continue to be websites, social media, and email. Maximizing your online spaces. So thoughts about how content can build momentum across online spaces. And then analyzing and adjusting. So how to look at information and data to make decisions and adjust your approach. And what I mean by that is the analytic piece, right? If you're doing all these different marketing things, but you're not actually testing them at the end to see if you're reaching people or it's causing you to have return on investment, then why are you wasting your time, right? So we got to make sure that we're looking into those things to make sure that it makes sense. All right. Okay, let's move on. So let's start talking about branding first. Okay, how you show up is just as important as where you show up. Next slide, please. Every business has its own flavor. So effective marketers embrace that uniqueness and they cultivate it through their branding and their marketing strategies. Next slide, please. Everything that people think and feel about your business is your brand, right? So think about your brand, think about what your brand is today and what it can potentially be in the future. So is it working for you currently? What are you known for? What do people actually think of when they think of your brand? And what can you do to build up or change perceptions if maybe you're not quite happy with what's associated with your brand? Your digital marketing depends on having a solid brand to build on, okay? Every brand is a story. You can go to the next slide. Successful brands resonate with the values and hopes of your customers, right? What journey are you and your business on? You have to tell this story in everything that you do. Most people will talk about that about section on a website and they're like, nobody reads that. I'm telling you that people read it, right? People want to have a connection with someone that they're doing business with. I know that I do, especially if it's a service type thing, like I want to kind of read about you a little bit, right? So that's very important. And sometimes if you have a very unique product, that's also really important because they want to know how you got started. Like this connects people to your business and your product, okay? Brand story can seem abstract when people think about how to apply it. So there are at least 2 basic ways a brand story can be useful. A business can write a web page, create a video, or in some other way tell the story of how the business was founded, the values behind the business, and how you meet your customers' needs. A brand story is a way to check decisions, right? You can ask yourself, does this make sense with my brand story? Okay, that's okay. You can go forward. Your brand needs a distinct personality. So this is the first thing. There's an exercise in the workbook when you get it that it makes you kind of think through that, right? Like, what do you want your brand to be known for, right? It talks about the look of it, right? You can't kind of mix it up. So if you're going for a classic look, you got to kind of keep that across the board. You want it to be more serious, more playful, right? Fresh, nostalgic. Like there's all these things. You got to kind of think about what look am I going for and stay consistent with that so people aren't confused around what your brand kind of stands for. Okay. And you'll be able to kind of go through that, like I said, in your workbook on page 6 once you get that. Okay. The 7 P's. Okay, you can go forward one more. So all You can go one more. Considerations for marketing strategy. All right. So we're going to go through each one of them, and they do detail them a little bit more in your book as well. So product, right? Solve a problem for customers. That's the first P. Price. So you find a price that balances profit and demand, right? Third is promotion. So get creative to get your product noticed. Fourth is place. So where your business or product is located matters a lot, right? Do you sell it online? Do you sell it in a store? Do you sell it on only certain online platforms, right? The fifth P being people. Outstanding customer service and real relationships matter. I don't care what type of or industry that you're in. That is a huge piece of why people continue to come back to you is because of how you treat your customers. Process, get your product out there quickly and efficiently. So if you say that you sell these products, but it takes you 3 weeks to ship them out to somebody, you're probably not going to get people to come back as quickly, right? So there's got to be a process that you have in place that makes sure that the time someone orders something, it's out. Or even if it's more of a point of sale, that you have it in stock, right? All of these things matter. Physical appearance is the last one, right? The packaging, the lighting, the smells, every detail matters. This, once again, all circles back to your brand and what you represent. Okay. All right. So there's an empathy map. You can go one slide forward. And there's going to be some questions that you can ask yourself. What are your customers thinking? Right. So you can think about what you might need to do, like find out what they need to do. What do your customers need to accomplish? What decisions do they need to make? How will you know that they are successful? There's all these things around an empathy map. Who is your customer? What do they do? What do they see? What do they like to do, right? These are how you establish your target market. A lot of times when I've asked businesses that I've consulted with, who's the target market that you're trying to look for? And they're like, well, everybody. No, sometimes you don't have a product for everybody. There's got to be, like, let me give you an example of someone who um actually does, kind of think of it as Uber for elderly parents. Okay, they are a service that can take you to the doctor or to the store to pick up groceries, right? So is your target market, you actually have two target markets. The first target market is the customer themselves, right? The person that needs the ride. However, if they're older, maybe they don't use the same platforms to market to. Because remember, the other target market is maybe their child, which is probably an adult, right? But maybe they're a little bit more engaged in social media. So now you have to think about two of your target markets and how do I reach them, even though they completely look at different things, right? So identifying who your product actually fits is how you then go backwards to think of, okay, how do I actually market to those people? And then it starts to get the brain working about different ways that you can do that effectively. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is kind of another one that I always kind of think through about the chat, but just think it through yourself. Okay. Out of everything that I just covered, your story, your brand, the 7 Ps, the empathy map, the personality of your brand. Think of, out of all of those things, to narrow it down to your number one priority for strengthening your brand. If there's something that I've mentioned in there that you're like, yeah, that's something I really need to focus on, then make that a priority, right? You can't tackle everything sometimes all at the same time because then you accomplish nothing. So make one thing something that you're going to fix first and then build on that into the next one once you've completed it. Okay. All right. So let's move into, where are your customers? All right. So think of your website as the center of your digital marketing strategy. Okay. Social media, emails, promotional text, it can all point back to your website as the central place to find information, even make an appointment, or potentially buy a product. Just think about it, how you act personally in your own life. If you have to go to social media, Google something, find it, and then jump through hoops in order to figure out all of the things that you need, you're already lost, right? It's like there's something statistic out there where it's like you got 3 clicks, okay, and you've already lost the customer if they can't find what they need by then. So it's very important that everything leads back to your web page. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. This is a staggering statistic. I think you're probably going to have to go two more. Yeah, one more, please. There you go. Okay. How crazy is this? People search Google 5.6 billion times per day. Like, that's insane. I mean, I think about how many times you search for something, and when you put that on a grander scale of all the people in the world that are looking at potentially something on Google. So, why is your website so important? Why not point people to your Facebook page? Because the first place that people go is Google, right? They don't think about a locksmith. When you're on the side of the road and or no, I shouldn't say side of the road. Let's say you're in a parking lot, you've locked your keys in your car or something, or you've lost your key. You're not going to Facebook to find a locksmith. You're going to Google, right? You're going to go to Google. It's going to be the first couple that pop up. You're going to call them, right? So ridiculously important that it leads back to your website. Okay. And when you find your website, they don't need to log in and jump around all over the app. They're right there. Okay. That's the key piece to it all. All right. So next slide. So the next question comes up is, okay, I get it. I got to go to my website. That's what leads to everything. However, what does a professionally designed website need? All right. So let's look at how you can actually build a website that delivers what your customers actually need. So there's going to be some stuff in the workbook for you that's going to talk through just what you should be seeing, and then also some software that can kind of help you to get started, even if you don't, want to pay someone to do a website and you want to just kind of start it on your own, at least to get something going. There's some resources in the book as well. So what does a professionally designed website need? Number one, value proposition. Right away, let your customers know what you're about and how you'll serve them. Critically important. You'd be shocked, but address, contact information, and hours, also critically important that customers know when and how to find your business. There are so many times I've Googled something and there's no phone number. Like, how that just doesn't even make sense, right? That has to be completely accurate. Up-to-date information. Okay. People might think you've gone out of business if you don't keep your website up to date. I just saw a post that someone put on social media the other day on or was it Valentine's Day? I think it was. They went, oh no, it was Super Bowl Sunday. They went to dinner at a restaurant. They looked it up beforehand. They got there and they were closed. So horrible customer experience, right? Should have updated their website to maybe even say hours may differ. They would have called and realized that they were closed, right? So super important to have update information. Streamline navigation, right? Help your customers find what they need quickly with navigation headers that make sense. Like I said, you got 3 clicks. So if that customer gets to your page, they got to see on the top, right? Think about when you go look for a menu for a restaurant. Pretty much it either says menu or you go to those 3 dots in the left or right-hand corner and menu is going to be one of the options. Okay? Because it has to be that quick. Okay? Information about you. We already talked about that a little bit. Tell your customers a little bit about you and why you're in business, why it matters to you. People want to know the story. Okay. There's nothing wrong with putting that on your website under that About Me section. Next slide, please. Mobile friendliness, right? More than half of web users or web searches happen on a phone or a tablet. So you have to make sure that your website looks good and is easy to use on those devices too. Because if you go on your phone and you can't see half the page because it was meant for a computer, you've already lost somebody. Okay. Accessibility compliance, right? There's businesses can actually be sued if their website isn't compliant with an Americans Disability Act. So make sure your website is for everyone by following the W3C's International Accessibility Standards. And you can find that link actually in your workbook. Okay. Images of people, right? We all like to look at people, show photos of people who are part of your target audience, right? It helps connect people. Testimonials. This is a huge one. We're more likely to trust a business if someone has vouched for it. It's just the reality, right? Ask a loyal customer if you can include your comments. Now you see those Google tabs, right? You see them at restaurants. Business owners can have them in their wallet where you can literally tell the person to tap their phone right on it. It's going to take them right to your reviews page. Okay. I'm telling you right now, I say it all the time. I've said it before in this class. There's not many people that purchase something on Amazon that doesn't have a review. It's just the reality. You don't want to be the first person to find out that the product isn't worth anything, right? So you look at reviews to say, is it going to fit right? Should I get a size up? Do people like this? Are people returning them all the time? Like, it matters. So when you're searching out a service or a business, those reviews matter. Other people's reviews matter. Okay. And then shoppable experience. So whether you sell a product or service, make sure it's easy to see what you offer and how to take the next steps to actually purchase it. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the website building tools that I was talking about. It'll be on page 12 within your workbook. It's to create your website. You're going to need obviously some form of a software. There's a lot of low cost, easy to use services for businesses, and it really kind of breaks down each one. So you can take a little bit of a deeper look on that when you get the book. Okay. All right. So let's move into some fun stuff. Social media. So keeping it real with your customers. The reality is that you cannot be on every social media platform. I know you try, and sometimes they're linked together, which is fine. But the reality is, what's important is that you are where your customers are. Because if everything, to go back to my original example, if everything you post is on Facebook, you're you're looking to hire someone that's potentially 80 plus years old, you're probably missing a lot of people if they don't have Facebook, right? So the goal is, when it comes to social media, to understand once again your target market and where your customers actually are. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just kind of a thing to think about. What social media platforms does your business currently use? Okay, and it kind of lists them all out: the Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok. Really kind of maybe narrowing it down to where you think you get the most value. Once again, we'll talk about how you test the ROI piece on that, but then maybe changing it up because maybe the platform that you're using isn't working. And unfortunately, the problem is that we get comfortable, right? We get comfortable there because that's where, like, we're used to posting. We know how to do it. Like, and then you wanted me to get on something new. I don't even know how this works. Hey, Google it. There's probably videos out there that are going to tell you exactly how to use that social media platform. So we have to be continually being, top of mind of the new technology that comes out there and how we can reach our clients. So ask yourself questions to understand the strategic advantages of different social media platforms. Okay, you can go to the next slide. What do your customers do online? What reinforces your brand image? Which platforms can help you meet your business goals, like we just said? What gets people excited? This is a big one. What platforms are your competitors on? Right? I talk about this in another class. Our competitors tell us so much. They tell us how to price. They tell us all the ins and outs of the business, right? They show us how to market to different people. We see what different platforms they're on. You have to be able to be there too, right? Um, how much time will each platform require? That's another really big deal, right? Like, you can't run a business and spend all your day on social media either, right? So we talk more in a couple of slides here around having a calendar of events. So I won't jump ahead on that, but and what will be fun for you to do too, right? I always tell clients, listen, if you're somebody that doesn't have the time to post things, right? Just make sure that you're taking photos, right? So, like, let's just say you're somebody that does lawn care, okay? And you take some before and after photos. So you snap a couple, right? A couple jobs that week. And then maybe on Friday is the day that you make a post. So you go through your phone, you take a couple of before and afters, and boom, you put a post up. Nobody's saying you got to do it every single day, right? It's just get your content through the week and then post once or post twice, whatever your calendar decides to be. Okay. All right. So the social media landscape is always changing. So, like I said, don't fall in love with one platform, right? Change along with your customers. Otherwise, we all still be using MySpace, right? Does anyone remember that? Okay. That was just a joke. All right. So next slide, please. I think you can go one more. Okay. So compare social media apps. So I think I saw a question come across. I couldn't read it because it just takes it really quick, but this might help if you're not sure how the social media platforms are different. There's an amazing chart inside the workbook that reviews kind of some questions that you can select the answers that most closely match your needs. So it literally goes through and talks about each one of the social media platforms and says, who are they? Why do people come here? What performs best? What are the limitations? How often per week should you post? How can you build an audience? and you can kind of narrow it down to your target market. Okay. And figure out maybe which social media platforms might be the best for your particular business. Okay. Okay. So, how to be successful on social media. This is what I was kind of talking about. Getting on the right platform is a good start. All right. Now, let's talk about how to use the social media to actually grow your business. Most important, I think, on all of this is to create a calendar. So, what do I mean by that? Like I just said, take photos throughout the week, right? But you only maybe post on, let's say, Mondays and Fridays, right? Because there's a thing like sometimes you overpost, right? You don't want people to start silencing you because you're annoying with your posts. Um, you can't always be asking people to do stuff, right? There's this like happy medium. um, so when you create a calendar, this will help you to make sure that you keep putting out content, and you can help you to time your posts, right? To support your business goals. Because sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Also, like, oh, I have to post this, I have to get this out there, people need to see this. Or, oh my God, 3 weeks have gone by and I haven't posted anything. This is going to help you stay a little bit more organized with that. You have to experiment with time and frequency, right? Are your customers up all night? Do they check their phones at lunchtime? Are they local or in every time zone? By switching up the timing of your posts and checking engagement numbers, you might see useful patterns that can help you to determine when to actually make a post. You got to be yourself, right? Cut the corporate language. People want to follow business leaders who are insightful and relatable. And then amplify community, right? Shout outs to your neighbors, your partners, community groups, and others can build goodwill and increase your followers. Okay. I'm a huge, like, if you follow me on LinkedIn, okay, you will see that I've actually kind of slowed down this year, but I'm just gearing up with events. But whenever I do workshops, like if this was in person, okay, I would be taking some photos of the event and I would be posting them. Okay. Because I want to have people that see the different workshops to see, hey, look at all the people that were there. I could have been there to network with other people and other business owners, right? The goal is to get that buzz, right? Because I want more people to come to the workshop so that they can learn more about their business or how to grow their business, right? So that's why it's so important for me to do that on LinkedIn. I wouldn't post the same stuff on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, because the LinkedIn piece for me is where I'm connected to a lot of other business owners and a lot of other people that I network in the community. And I want them to then spread the word that this workshop is happening to their networks, right? So that's why I do it, for that purpose. And really I'm kind of running my own business too about what I do. So it's kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, so how to be successful on social media. Another good part is give more than you take. Like I was saying, you can't always be selling, right? People unfollow you or mute you because you get irritating. Instead, focus on what you can do for your followers. Okay. Ask customers to follow you on social media. The bigger your follower base, the further your content can reach. All right. You'll be surprised at how many customers will gladly follow you on your business if you just ask them to. I've gotten plenty of times where people have said, hey, so and so has asked you, or wants you to follow their page. Like, that's fine, great. And if it gets irritating, I'll probably snooze it or unfollow it, right? But you'll always get somebody to at least start it for you, right? Or to accept that follow. And be memorable, right? Feeds move fast, so give people a good reason to recognize your business when they see something. I'm looking at the time here, so I always tell this quick story, but I'm just going to say I'm going to shorten it. Go back to the landscaping story for a second. I had told the story even maybe last time that there was a guy that used to post all these before and after photos, and he never talked price. He never said, hey, I'm running this special or anything like that. And he didn't even know who I was. I just happened to, I don't even know how I even connected with him, to be quite honest. But I always used to say, wow, like his work is so amazing. Like if I ever need to hire him, like I'm totally gonna, like he would be the first person that I would hire. And he didn't post obnoxiously. It was like I would see it every once in a while, like probably maybe once a week. And I always would think about him, right? But I just, I have someone else that does some things for me. So I didn't need him at that moment. But right before, like a couple months ago, he had posted that he was accepting additional contracts for plowing. And I was like, oh my God, my plow guy literally said he wasn't doing it this year. So I said, this is my opportunity to reach out to him. So I reached out to him and he came over. gave me a quote and everything. And I ended up going with him. But I told him the story about how I said, you don't think I'm a creeper. I said, but I've literally been watching you on social media and I love your posts. Like that you always do these before and after. Your work always looks so great. Like, I coach small businesses and it's amazing how what your content is and everything. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, I can't even believe that you said that. He goes, sometimes I think that nobody ever sees my stuff. And it just reminded me that this guy has no idea that I've literally been like 2 seconds away from hiring him for months, but I just didn't need him at that moment. But if he would have disappeared and stopped posting, I would have forgotten about him when I actually needed his service. And because I saw his post timely, right when I needed it, he just earned another customer, right? So once again, it's the consistency, it's the calendar, right? It's making sure that you're continuing to put that content out there, even if you don't think always sometimes that maybe people are seeing it because you haven't gotten business right then and there. It doesn't mean that they're just not moments away from potentially hiring you for something. Okay. Okay. Enough of the story. All right. So next slide. Should you pay? Okay, this is a good one. So, should you pay for social media impressions? So, a lot of times this question comes up. In the early days of social media, you could post content and nearly all of your followers would see it, right? Somebody would like it, it would pop right back up to the top. Well, of course, people got greedy and they're like, wait, this isn't going to work. We're going to charge for this, right? So, today, platforms typically limit your reach unless you pay for boosts or ads. So, the good news is that social media ads are relatively inexpensive. So, for example, a boosted post on Facebook typically costs about $7 per 1,000 impressions. So that's the number of times that the post shows up in a feed. And you can target your boost to groups, like specific groups on Facebook, or followers by location, education level, gender, or a lot of other demographics. So, I'm not opposed to it. I think it depends on the industry, right? If you're trying to boost the build or the business, it might be something to potentially look into. Okay. All right. So we're going to shift gears off of social media and we're going to go back to some old school marketing. So email marketing, right? Social media might be big, but believe it or not, it has not replaced email. Next slide, please. 46% of consumers believe that email is still the best channel for company contact, preferring it almost twice as much as any other channel, which is crazy, right? Think about it. How much spam and coupons and deals do you get in your email, right? But every single thing that you do when you sign up for something, it's, hey, I'm going to give you 10% off if you give me your email address, or I'll give you 20% off if you put your phone number in and apply to text messages. This is all advanced ways of marketing that, once again, shows up on your phone and boom, it triggers you to potentially go on and buy something because now you have this discount, right? Okay, next slide. So you can send regular newsletters, right? Promotions, announcements, and more via email to hundreds or even thousands of people. Here are a few ways that you can make sure that your email actually delivers the results. So number one, you got to focus on the open, right? A compelling subject line is the biggest driver of your open rate. Just be careful you're not putting clickbait out there, right? If people think your subject line is a trick, they won't open it, or they might even throw you in spam, and then you're never going to be able to reach them unless they're looking at their spam email every once in a while. Develop a call to action. So that's what I was talking about. What do you want your customer to do after they open your email? So make sure you provide a clear, specific call to action so that your email can accomplish your goals. So if it's, like I said, add your email address or add your phone number, whatever your call to action is, you want to make sure you put that so that you're gathering their information, because what does that allow you to do then? Continue to market to them. That's how you get your client list set up for how you're going to market your newsletter or any other marketing coupons that you're going to send out. Okay. That's why you get all that spam in your email, because you've given your email address or phone number to that company. Personalize your message, right? We all know that these emails go out to a lot of people, but when people see their name in the subject line or message, it's human nature to feel a little bit special. And I'm not saying you got to sit there and send individual emails to all these people. There's software for that. There's just like for this webinar. How many of you got a reminder email that the call was today, right? That's a software. You guys have registered for the program. We're going to make sure that we continue to remind you of it so that you can have the information readily available to you, okay? We don't have time for people to sit and send out 200 emails every couple of days, right? We just load in our contacts into the software, and the software helps to automate that process for us. Okay. And then you got to create FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. No one wants to miss out on a deal or a bit of fun. So that's a really good one. Okay. And someone just said, what's good software? Next slide, please. Here you go. You're right ahead of it. Okay. To send emails to a customer list, you need an email marketing system. So here are a few of the most popular ones. Okay. You've got, and they talk deeply about each one in your workbook, but you got MailChimp, Constant Contact, HubSpot, Campaign Monitor, and Active Campaign. Okay. So do a little bit of research on each of them. Like I said, there'll be a little bit of a paragraph about each one, just some highlights, and you can kind of figure out which one works best for you. I always used to say to some of my clients where they have a retail store and they're like, I somehow want to like capture the information from my client. I'm like, listen, think about when you go to like, I always think of, I don't know why, but I think of Dick's Sporting Goods. Every time I go there or Home Depot, it asks me, do you want your receipt printed or emailed? Right. And if you select email, it confirms your email address, right? And sends it to you. But we know that that means that now they've made sure that they captured your information so that anything else they want to get to me, they've got my information. Okay. So just think about that as you're trying to create that contact list. Okay. Um, Email lead capture strategies. You can go to the next slide. So pop-ups, right? A quick message that pops up when people visit your site can be very effective. We've all seen it. You're in the site and then boom, all of a sudden, like I said, that 10% coupon pops up, but they want your phone number or email. Nothing wrong with that. Giveaways. In exchange for something free, people will often trade their email address. Social media promotions. Ask your social media followers to sign up for emails. Nothing wrong with that. Opt in at purchase. I'm sure you all have encountered this, right? There's a little box at the end when you're checking out that says, hey, include a box, or do you want to hear about news and future discounts from me? Right? Check the box. Great. Now I've captured your information and you've told me it's fine for me to continue to send you stuff. Tools or resources. So if you have a valuable tool or resource that you're offering for free, ask customers to provide contact information to access it, right? Hey, I'm a bookkeeper and I have this awesome spreadsheet that businesses can use. I'm willing to offer it to you for free. Just drop your phone number and email address. Okay. Contests, right? It's a win-win. So they get a chance to win a great prize and you get to have their contact information. So there's plenty of different things that you can kind of think through that. Okay, so some more email strategies are segment and target your audience. Okay, targeting your messages to specific audiences ensures your recipients will be more likely to pay attention to your emails and allows you to offer exactly what each segment wants. So make it valuable, right? Focus on what your customer wants. Otherwise, your message will end up in the trash. Develop a cadence, right? If your customer knows that your messages come roughly at the same time each week or month, many will look forward to your email. I think I always used to use the example of the Bed Bath and Beyond coupon. I mean, they don't do it anymore because they're not open. But man, did I wait for that 20% off coupon when I knew I was going to make a purchase? Because why would I overpay? If I know it comes every week, I'm just going to wait until I see it in my email box, right? So once again, that consistency can be a huge win. And the timing is important, right? So messages can get buried in your inbox really fast, especially if, like me, I got a ton of stuff I sign up for because I love a coupon. Try to send your emails when your customers are more likely to be checking. And that's just, once again, trying to play around with some different times. Okay. All right. Next slide. So how else can you market your business online? Okay. Review sites, right? Such as Yelp, Angie, and Google My Business. I know a lot of people, if you're in a service industry on this call right now, Google My Business it's a live or die for some industries, right? It offers a free platform to provide useful information and photos about your business and interact with your customers. Digital ads on popular local or industry specific websites help you get noticed by the right people. So think about a realtor or a realty company that a title company would potentially advertise on their site. There's no competition there, but you need a title company in order to close on a piece of real estate. So it would make sense to pay to market on their website, right? And there's a ton of different crosses that you could think of for different businesses like that. Videos that can be both live on a video platform and be reused in many other spaces, offer opportunities for customers to take a deeper dive into who or what your business offers. Texting updates, right? Reminders, special offers, and more help you deliver timely information and promotions where people are most likely to see them. Delivery apps, right? Take monitoring and management to make sure your business shows up the way you want. Think about it. You could click on your Amazon at any time, your UPS, your FedEx, and find out exactly where your package is at. That's a service that people love, right? So there's so many different things that you could do, especially when it comes to like your products and how you offer it, especially on the digital platform or email. Amazon is the biggest e-commerce platform in the US. A presence there can potentially be helpful. And I won't get into that today, but I do know a little bit about, selling on Amazon and stuff like that. And I know that it can be expensive and cut into your profits, but sometimes, depending on what it is, it can get you kind of the visibility that you're looking for your business. So we could always talk more about that offline. Okay. Which digital marketing space do you think offers you the biggest opportunity over the next 12 months? So that's just something to think about. Everything that we just talked about, whether it be social media, different calendars, emails, different posts, where do you think your business could potentially move the needle? Videos, promotions, all those different things that maybe you're not doing now that you maybe should think about potentially adding into your marketing plan. Okay. Just something to think about. Okay, next slide. So maximizing your online spaces. You can go one more slide too. So you don't want something you put a lot of time and work in to just disappear, right? You can find ways to keep it alive and to amplify all of your content. So let's go one more. So SEO, search engine optimization, is about making sure your website shows up near the top of search results. Keywords are critical. So you use the words and phrases on your website that your customers use. So like I gave that example of a locksmith earlier. Think about the words that people are going to search, right? Like they might not use the term locksmith. They may say like, key repair, I lost my key. All of these different terminologies you have to kind of think of that you can use as critical words and phrases so that your website comes up when customers search it. Make sure all of the metadata on your website is filled in. That means your titles, your headers, your page descriptions, your images. If somebody pulls up your website and half of it doesn't work, I mean, let's be real. Like who's going to purchase something from that website, right? Figure out how to get other websites to link to your site. So Google considers this a marker of both usefulness and trustworthiness. So for example, when I told you about the title company working on the real estate website, that you should be able to click that title company's link and it should take you right to that website. Okay, that's what that means. And then create a Google My Business profile. Super important so that local customers can find you easily when they search. I've had cleaning companies that I've worked with, locksmiths, landscapers, service industry. Google My Business is absolutely critical to the success of them finding clients. Okay. Okay, so get started generating keywords, researching backlinks, and improving site performance. So there's actually going to be a little bit of a work, kind of a, what am I trying to say, exercise that you can do to think through those keywords and, for your business that you would be able to use so that people can find you quicker. Okay. All right, so let's move on to automation. So automated messages can help you stay connected with customers without taking a lot of time. So automated messages can go out as emails, text messages, social media messages, and chats on specific platforms. You'll typically need a CRM system or other database that tracks customer information. So here are some types of automated messages that it would include. Like welcomes, right? So greet new subscribers or social media followers. As soon as they follow you, you get to send them over kind of a, hey, welcome to my page. I've had that happen to me when I've joined a group on Facebook before, right? Reminders. So make sure your customers don't miss an event or an appointment, right? So you have an automated system that will send out the reminder, just like today. Drip campaigns. So you build interest in your business through multiple messages, right? Maybe you have an event coming up. So you do two different ones a couple weeks before, and then maybe right before you have a really good hook and you offer a coupon or something for something that's going to be at the event that day. Whatever it needs to be, it's kind of creating that buzz. Request for feedback, right? We talked about that. After a purchase, ask how it went. I always think about movers, right? I have a mover that I help consult. And he always says, I always just forget to ask for the reviews after. I know it's so important to my business. So imagine if he could use a system that not only sends over the invoice, potentially signed, and the receipt to the client after the work's been completed, but also sends an email to say, how did we do? Can you take a minute to put a review or answer these questions? You've all had that happen to you before, okay? That you should be able to do the same exact thing for your business as well. Recommendations, right? Send customers information about other products they might like. So think about when you're on a site buying like clothes and they'll say at the bottom, like, well, people that bought this product also liked these, right? And they give you two other things that are maybe similar tasted, right? That's a huge thing. Like that's an upsell, right? That is an upsell where you weren't maybe looking at that, but oh, well, a lot of people buy that when they buy this because they're going to need it to maybe install that or whatever the case is, right? But if you don't remind them or potentially put that as an option, they might forget or they may come back and look for that, but it won't be a product that you're selling. It could be from someone else. So the recommendation one is huge. And then celebratory occasions, right? Wishing customers a happy birthday via email, offering a coupon. We all know Red Robin does it. A bunch of stores do it. They give you coupons on your birthday, all that kind of stuff. That's just an extra added touch. Okay. Okay, next slide. So multi-channel marketing. An effective marketing strategy takes advantage of the opportunity to use marketing content again to reach new audiences in new ways. So I'm going to give you an example of how you can think about content across multiple marketing spaces. So this, I might lose you on this one. This one's even a little complicated for me, but let's just say you've started a blog. Okay. Where else can that content go? So you can link it to social media. You can include an excerpt in an email. You can post the blog as a tweet thread. You can use a lead capture form on the blog site to gain new email followers. And you can post images from the blog post on social media. So the point of me telling you that was that just because, like we said, you might be on maybe 3 different platforms, it's not to say that you have to put brand new content on all 3, right? You can create something really fantastic, but then just share it in different ways amongst those other platforms that you use. Okay. Okay. You can go to the next one. I'm actually going to skip over this just for the sake of time, so we can get through some of the good stuff in here. So you can go one more. Okay. So, you can go one more on that too. Okay. All right. So analyzing and adjusting. So to make your digital marketing, okay, digital tools offer a wealth of information. How do you know what's important? So next slide. We say to make SMART goals. Knowing what information and data to track starts with your goals. So check your goals using the SMART system to make sure that you can track your progress effectively. And you'll find in the workbook that it'll break down each one of these. The SMART system stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay. If you can keep that as your goal when you're thinking about your marketing, honestly, that's a great place to start. Okay. Without getting overwhelmed, because people overthink marketing. We get overwhelmed by it, and that's why we don't do it. You have to establish metrics. Next slide, please. Which marketing numbers matter? And I talked about this early on in the beginning. You can be doing all these different platforms, sending out emails, sending out flyers, all of this stuff that's driving you insane because you don't have enough hours in the day to actually do the business because you're spending all this time marketing. But in reality, you have no idea which ones are actually working. So are you wasting time because you're not testing? Is this actually working? So there's a few useful places to find metrics. Google Analytics. So like I said, if you're a Google My Business person or You've got your website and you've got keyword searches and all that kind of stuff. Google Analytics will literally tell you, send you a report that shows you all of the details. If people have clicked on it, like how far they've clicked, like there's all different kinds of information that you can gather. Like, okay, people are going to my website, but they're not purchasing anything. Like, why? Why is that? Well, so I'm getting people to come to my site, but I can't get them to actually purchase, right? So maybe it's because my website isn't as sophisticated as it needs to be. Maybe it's not as user friendly as it needs to be, right? Maybe there's a problem somewhere where people can't actually purchase it, right? This tells you things so that you can potentially figure out where the issue is, okay? Email marketing systems. The email marketing systems will tell you if somebody actually opened the email that you sent, right? If you're sending 100 emails and you've got 20 that get opened, I mean, honestly, that's not a horrible return on that. Okay. But if you send, 200 and you get one, then maybe email is not the right way to do it for your business, right? People aren't reading it, or it's going into their spam. And then there's social media analytics. So all these different social media platforms have the same analytics. You just have to decide which ones you want to see, right? People are going to my page, they're looking at my stuff, they're liking it, right? They're sharing it. Okay. All of those things can kind of help you to build out your marketing plan going forward. Okay. And there's way more detail in your book on pages 31 and 32 that can really go into the specifics around the analytics and how to actually have it help you moving forward. Okay. And then then you go to the next slide. There's some other kinds of marketing data. So, like online surveys can provide a wealth of information about what your customer really thinks and feels. Right. We talked about potentially sending a survey at the end, right? Maybe not necessarily a review, but a survey. Tell me what can I do better? A net promoter score. That's a quick 1 to 10 snapshot. If you've ever talked to the Cleveland Clinic and they say, "Can you stay on the line?" They'll say, "Can you rank me from 1 to 5 about my customer service? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best." Like that type of stuff, just to give you an idea of where you fall, right? And then a return on investment calculations can tell you whether your marketing efforts are delivering revenue. So at the end of the day, if you're making more money because you've been on this platform and you're seeing that people are coming in or people are getting to your website and they're purchasing and you're selling things, then you've created a return on your investment. Okay. And that's the easiest way to be able to tell because you're actually making money. But the other way sometimes is tell you if there's something that you need to maybe potentially fix or potentially change and get on a different platform. Okay. All right. So there's a poll question. You don't have to answer it, but I want you to think about it. How often do you review your marketing data? So everything that we just talked about, if you just continue to do the same things and you're not reviewing any of this information, you're doing yourself a disservice and you might be wasting a lot of time. So it's important, like you set up the calendar of events to post, set up a calendar to be able to go in and review the data to see if what you're doing and what you have out there is actually working. Okay. All right, next slide. So, a learning culture is essential, right? Don't ignore your marketing data. Okay. You can go one more. Collect data at regular intervals. Okay. The first step in making data analysis a habit is having the data in hand. Okay. So you got to be able to pull it and then, make sure that you're actually looking at it. Maintain clean and useful excuse me. Inconsistent and inaccurate data is not useful, right? It's just a waste of time. Create a dashboard where you can see all of your metrics in one place, right? So maybe every month you collect all the analytics, put them in a folder, and then at the end of the week, you kind of take a look at them and see, or you save them into a folder if you're more of a digital person, and you take a look at them at the end of the week so you're seeing everything together. All right. Regularly share what you're learning, right? When you socialize the information, people can use it to do their jobs better, right? So if you're working with somebody even that's doing your marketing for you, and you're looking at the analytics, you got to have a conversation and say, listen, like you're doing all this for me, but I'm not getting any return on this, right? Here's what the numbers are so that you guys can think up different ways to potentially post at different times or come up with a different strategy. And I encourage experimentation, right? This is learning in action. There's not a perfect solution to marketing, right? Or everyone there wouldn't be a job in marketing, right? It's constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. You constantly have to think about different ways to do it. I mean, let's talk really briefly about, or think real briefly about the Stanley Cup, right? Like not the hockey one, but the one that everybody went crazy over at Target a couple of weeks ago. Stanley's been around forever. They were like a $75 million company, created that cup years ago. That cup has been in existence forever and a day. They started marketing to women, okay, that exercise, moms that, have their big mugs, and they jumped to a $750 million company off a product that they have had on their uh, shelves for years, but they marketed it differently. And look what happened. Okay. So constantly an evolution process when it comes to marketing. Okay, last one is A and B testing. I always say, listen, if you can't do all of the other stuff that we talked about today, you're not a social media person, you don't have the time for email or whatever the case is, the basic idea of A and B testing is a original idea in marketing, okay? It's to create two marketing pieces that are different in one important way. So for an example, an email with two different subject lines or a flyer that offers two different deals on it, right? You put each marketing piece into the world and see which one does better, right? It's simple, but it's a powerful idea. Many marketing technology systems include built-in tools to help you conduct A and B testing. Okay. Um, so it's something you could easily do if nothing else. All right. All right. So the last thing is just to own your digital spaces. You can actually skip over this one. This is just a something that you can do as an exercise. Get your business out there and expand your customer base. Okay. Now's the time to claim your space online. You can go one more. Can you see a way to take your marketing to the next level? All right. Everything that you've learned in this book today is going to help you potentially think about maybe something a little bit differently, or maybe learn about some software that you could potentially use to, do those mass emails, or, put a dashboard together to do a calendar of events. There's a host of different things. If anything you learn from today, just pick up one thing that you're not currently doing that you should start doing, and then test it and see if it's done anything for you. Don't get overwhelmed with it. It's baby steps. It's try something and make sure you give it enough time, right? Like I said about the example of the landscaper, it didn't happen for him overnight. So if you think, hey, I'm going to do this post and oh my God, after 1 month, nothing's happened, that's not enough time. Okay. Maybe you got to increase the followers or increase the people that are seeing it, because if only the same 10 people are seeing it, it's not going to do anything for you. Okay. All right, next slide, please. So we're wrapping up here. So the last thing I say is, what's the first thing you're going to do to raise your digital marketing game, right? So just remember everything we talked about. Pick something, do it, leave it there for a little while, and see if it produces some results. All right. Okay, so that's all I got for you. We'll open it up for some questions. We've got a few minutes here. Actually, it's 5 o'clock now, but we'll take a couple of questions, and then anything else we can always have an offline conversation as well.
Well, there are two questions about how can we get the book, which should have gone out actually ahead of time, but if not, it will go out tomorrow or the next day with the slides and the link to the recording. And those looks like those are all the Q&A. Let's look in the chat. What are some great tools for automated messages versus email and phone?
Which we talked about some of that, and it's in the book.
Yeah. How long should you allow before changing your strategy?
Yeah. And we talked about that too. It's going to vary in different industries, right? I mean, I would say just give it a nice fair amount of time. To me, it's always at least a quarter, which is 3 months, obviously, to test something out.
How does the physical appearance of the business apply to those businesses which are solely digitally based and run by solopreneurs, especially from their offices?
Yeah, well, the physical appearance is actually, I think, more important, because all you have is what people see on social media or your website, right? So people are going to get a feel for it just based off of what they see. They can't actually physically go in anywhere and get a feel. So I think it's actually more important.
Is Allura a good email campaign program to use.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one, so I'm not sure if you guys have.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either. What is a good software for email?
Yeah, and that one's in the book as well. There's 4 different or 5 different options inside for the email one.
My pet peeve is conferences who don't put what state they are in and the date on the first page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I took my number off my website because it resulted in a stalker harassing me.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Okay. That looks to be it. So
Okay. Well,
thank
if
you all
anybody
for,
comes, yeah, if anybody comes up with anything else and they have a question, obviously, feel free to reach out and we'll be glad to answer it. If you go one more slide too, I think it has my information on it. So if there's anything else that we
yeah,
missed, feel free to reach out.
right. And again, that will be part of the slide deck that goes out. So they will have your information. And Laura, thank you very much. I think this has been a tremendous session for people who really need to get into digital marketing. And it's something I think a lot of people are afraid to do.
Yeah.
So I think this is really helpful. And I think your workbook is wonderful. Um, and I'm happy that we can send it out to people.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
okay, so enjoy the rest of your day.